Let's install this vanity and granite countertop. When selecting this vanity, I wanted to get something that was well made and that would last a good while. I wasn't impressed with what the big box stores offered, but I found a local supplier of local, well-made vanities. The countertop was purchased from a big box store since I didn't see the need to special order the countertop. Doing it this way, I spent a little extra on the vanity, but saved some on the countertop. I removed all the drawers and doors to lighten the weight and to make moving it easier. Then I had a friend help me move it into the bathroom. Once I had it in position, I applied a bead of silicone to the top of the vanity, and then we set the countertop in place. I made sure the countertop was aligned and not touching the wall. The sink came pre-installed to the countertop. Then I drilled holes in the side of the vanity and installed the toilet paper holder. After installing this holder, I did decide to change to a different holder. I leveled the vanity by raising the low spots with a jack and then adjusting the levelers on the vanity. Now I'm going to install the drawers. These are soft close drawers, which is nice. Now it's time to plumb up the sink. I start out by measuring and cutting the P-trap to length so it aligns with the sink. Then I apply some plumber's putty to the flange and place it in the sink. I screw in the tailpipe to the flange from underneath. You will notice that the tailpipe has a rubber gasket that will seal on the bottom of the sink, and the top flange will be sealed by the plumber's putty. I make sure it's snugged up with a wrench, but it's important not to over-tighten it. Then I install the drain elbow and the drain stub out. This elbow has a decorative cover that will hide the nut after tightening. Then I slide on the slip nut components to the tailpipe, tighten the P-trap to the elbow, and slide down and tighten the slip nut. Then I slide in the shelf and make sure everything is tightened up. The P-trap just clears the shelf, and I actually had to raise the stub out plumbing in the wall to accommodate this vanity. Now I'm installing some decorative covers over the shutoff valves plumbing. These are new ball valves that I installed to replace the old compression shutoff valves. The old valves had flexible steel supply lines that were part of the valves. These new valves will use braided supply lines that connect to the valve. Now it's time to install the faucet. Due to the pre-drilled holes in the countertop, we are going to use a widespread two-handle bathroom faucet. First, I slide in the handles and screw on the nut. What's interesting is the nut has screws in it, so you don't actually tighten the nut. You get it close or snug and then tighten the screws in the nut. Then I slide in the faucet, and it is held in place with a C-shaped piece that slides on a rod and has a nut that holds it all together. I didn't have much room for the water line and lift rod, and it turns out I think I should have installed the C-shaped piece sideways. Then I connect the mixing hose to the faucet and handles. The hose is connected with quick connects. Now it's time to install the stopper assembly. I slide in the stopper from the top and then install the horizontal rod into the tailpipe and the bottom of the stopper, and then tighten down the pivot nut. Then I connect a strap to the lift rod and horizontal rod and adjust it for proper operation. Now I connect the water supply lines to the shutoff valves and the faucet handles supply lines. It's important when tightening the supply lines to the handle supply to use 2 wrenches, otherwise you may end up twisting the copper supply lines. Now I turn on the water supply and test the faucet. Due to the small supply lines, I wanted to see what this faucet was like if I removed the aerator. And well, it puts out a concentrated stream of water, so this faucet has to have the aerator to function properly. and to spread the water into a larger stream. Now I install the lower drawer and attach the doors. The doors also have soft close hardware. In the next part of the video, I disconnect the sink and faucet and then reconnect them once I'm done. Now it's time to install the backsplash. Most people will attach them to the walls, but I want this vanity to be able to be moved, if needed, on down the road. So I'm going to secure them to the countertop without needing to be secured to the walls. First, I'm going to apply some weather stripping to the back of the backsplash to protect the walls from the backsplash and to give space for some aluminum angle pieces that I'm going to secure to the back. Then I apply some construction adhesive to the bottom of the backsplash and set it in place on the counter and against the wall. Then I clean up any of the adhesive that squeezed out. I repeat the process for the side splash. The backsplash came with the countertop, but the side splash was purchased separately. It's only needed if the vanity butts up against a wall on one side. Then I pull the vanity out, trim the excess construction adhesive, and use some construction adhesive to fasten some aluminum angle pieces to the back. These angle pieces will provide additional strength to the backsplash. The vanity needs to be secured to the wall. Since I installed baseboards behind the cabinet, I attached a spacer board to the wall to fill the space between the vanity and the wall. I used some plastic trim board for this, and I secured it to the studs before moving in the vanity. Now I'm going to install 2 hanger bolts in the bottom section. The hanger bolts have wood threads on one end for screwing into the studs, and have machine screw threads on the other end for threaded nuts. They can be installed by tightening 2 nuts against each other and using the jammed nuts to drive the bolt into the wall. Then I drill 2 holes into the back of the vanity. I need to turn one of the holes into a slot for easier installation of the vanity, as I need to slide and rotate it in place for the countertop to clear the door trim. I'm using connecting cap nuts for the nuts to secure the vanity. I'm using this type of nut for 2 reasons. One is that they look nice, and the second is that they allow me to use a shorter stick out of the bolts, making the installation of the vanity easier, since I need to slide and rotate it into the corner. Now I want to fill the gaps between the wall and backsplashes. To do this, I put some parchment paper on the wall to protect the wall from the silicone caulking that I'm going to be using. And then I fill the gaps with color match caulking. Once cured, I moved the vanity back out and found out that I should have also used some mold release or cooking spray to do a better job of preventing the caulking from sticking to the parchment paper. I had to go around with a razor blade to remove the parchment paper from the caulking. I wanted to prevent dust from getting behind the vanity once installed, so I applied some expandable foam weather seal to the back and sides of the vanity. Then I slide the vanity back in place, secure it to the wall, rehook up the sink and faucet, and that finishes up the installation of this vanity. I hope you enjoyed the video and got some good ideas. Have a good one and take it easy.